We went to Disneyland for 2 days. Because that's what we had planned.
And I remember him at first. He was like, "Hey, do you want to? Here's a hotel that we're staying at. If you want to stay." I'm like, "No, because if this doesn't work out, like I don't want you to know where I am."
Fair. Very
You're
fair.
smart.
And then
Smarter
also,
than me.
so we have different tastes in hotels. And I saw the picture.
Are you saying that he had like the princess special and you were like, I don't want the princess special?
No, more like she's
Yeah, the 7 doors.
Because I be worried about your soul. Why you still be down and you got a soul? Like you need to see to believe these things, but you believe things that you've never seen. Like feelings and hopes and dreams, the future emotions and gravity. And sadly, everything you're rejecting makes this whole life a tragedy.
Welcome to the Milk and Meat Podcast. This is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, please go back and check it out before you watch this one.
Honey, how about you share about why you broke up with me that time?
Oh, okay. So both times I broke up, it's because I was being counseled and taught regularly for the last 2.5 years before that, because Adelaide was 2.5 at the time that was happening. So I was already always being taught that God would and must and promises to restore my relationship with my ex. Mm-hmm. So I did not look at another girl or another woman in any way to consider anything. For me, everything was 100% platonic. I was just there to get to know the people, to reach out, to minister. So I grew in my understanding of evangelism. I grew in my understanding of the word because I was 100% focused on that. And I was just waiting for the other side to match up and to walk towards Christ with me. So I did not look in any other direction. So, I mean, I've met Leslie in the past, but I never in any way considered anything about anyone because my eyes were 100% like, I'm not setting on my eyes on anyone except for my ex, and God's going to fix it because my pastor has said so, my ministers have said so. They've promised it. This is what God is supposed to do. So I had people prophesy over me. They'd put their hands on me saying, He's gonna fix your marriage. He's gonna fix this. I was like, sweet. I mean, you got people saying that over you. You're gonna believe it. So at some point, it just wasn't working. My daughter was already 2, almost 2.5, and I was like, God, I am so bad at filling the entire parental role. Like, I am not the gentle, hypersensitive, totally motherly person. I can't do that role, and my daughter deserves the full experience. And I need someone to do that with me. Mm-hmm. And if you're not going to bring that person back, give me someone to be with, someone that's actually going to want Christ, someone that's actually going to submit in that motherly role, someone that's actually going to partner with me as I walk towards you, someone that's actually going to minister with me. Like, I need someone that's not going to fight me on the principles of Christ. Mm-hmm. I need someone that's going to come in and do that and be a matched mother to my daughter. I need her to be mom. Mm-hmm. I don't need her to be, I'm marrying you and this kid's an extra. No, yeah. I need this person to fulfill that role. Mm-hmm. And it was after that Leslie, who usually would be late to church because she'd come from Tucson, so she would just show up on random moments in church. No one knew when she was showing up because she would just visit. Yeah. And I was on the praise team. And after that, she walked through the door like 20 minutes late and we're doing praise. And the minute I saw her, I felt like what I would say now is like a confirmation of sorts. I was like,
the angels are singing
something. some
slow motion.
Some sort of a. No, it was more of my excitement to worship just got elevated, and I'm already having a blast. I mean, I love singing and praising. Yeah. And the fact that in some way was stimulated even higher when I saw her, I was like, there's something spiritual there. Like, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if this was God leading me. Like, I need to pray for her. I need to get to know her, like something. The same way I felt like when a desire to talk to someone about Christ came up, that excitement just took place as I was already excited. So I just became hyper excited. I was like, and I couldn't forget that. So after service, that's when I said, hey, do you want to go get a burger? Like, I acted on that feeling. I was like, I need to know what's going on. Are you going to tell me there's a prayer request? Or is there a ministry here? What is it? And then as we started eating, I was like, good golly. This is that thing. This is that prayer being answered. So started getting to know her, and I would be with her, and then when I started dating for like 2 days, after that all the doubts came in. Like, you're abandoning the idea of God fixing your previous relationship. So I just got shook, and I was like, I can't. I got to stop.
Do you think it's because I had to go back home 4 hours away
No,
that time?
no, it had nothing to do with you.
Oh.
It had to do with the fact that I was abandoning a promise that people would minister over me, promising, guaranteeing me. People have ministered for 40 years. Those people have laid hands saying God will fix it, and I was abandoning it. So I was like, I'm in sin. I'm destroying what God's going to fix. I'm making it impossible for him to fix it. How dare I? So I was shook in a theological sense. So I was like, I have to abandon this. And then I would pray, and just what seemed like a confirmation, like, she's it. Like, I was like, okay, maybe God is going to do that. So I would go for it again. And then a month later, that same condemning feeling came up. So it was all theological. And she was going through heartbreak after heartbreak. Pobrecita. Like, I put her through this, but I'm going through a mental thing. She's going through all this experience. Like, well, you love me and you hate me. You love me and you hate me. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's not you. So at some point, the second breakup happens, and then she didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks or a month or something, texts or whatever. She just didn't answer them. Okay. And then at some point, what?
I take over now.
Oh, cool.
So telling your version.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so he breaks up with me, completely mad. I'm over him. This time I didn't cry my ears out. That was the first breakup. This time, like, I knew it. I didn't get too excited.
Yeah.
Yo,
like,
what?
you know,
I should have saw this coming.
yeah. So time goes by. That was September. So October, that whole month, I really got close to God. I was living on my own officially.
In Tucson.
Yeah, but I had roommates for 2 years, and on third year, my former roommate couldn't do it anymore, so she moved back with her dad. So I was literally on my own, and I was able to stay with my cousins for maybe 2 months, but then I had to move out, you know. So I was officially on my own. I had to drop out of college because on your own, I had to get like 2 full-time jobs. Well, 1 full-time job and a part-time job. And so I had a lot of time for myself because I didn't have time for friends. I didn't have time for church. So the breakup, started fasting, praying, talking to God. And at some point, I believe it was on Monday. It was Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Okay.
I don't know where you're at in the story.
Okay. So one day of the week, I'm guessing it's Tuesday. I was praying and God was speaking to me. I kind of feel special at this moment because I feel like I'm spoiled. God was speaking to me saying, like, what do you want me? Like, what do you want from me? Because I've been very independent and like I could do on my own. I don't need God, but I always acknowledge that God is blessing me. He's with me and I do need him. I want him. But I felt like God was telling me, like, I want to bless you with something. Like, what do you want? And I'm like, okay. I was like, I want my soulmate. I was like, God, after my experience with Andrew, I want that, because when you're alone, independent in another city, you get caught up in that mentality. Go to school, make money, be independent, be a strong-willed woman. You don't need a man. So I was getting comfortable with the idea, like, if it doesn't happen, I'll be that rich aunt, you know, with a lot of friends, you know, and not kids of my own, but I'll be that rich aunt. I'll be fine. I'm content because I have God. Remember you were talking about be content. So, but because of that moment I was talking to God, I was like, I actually want a soulmate. I'm not going to lie. It felt nice. It felt nice seeing a future with someone. It felt nice being a stepmom. And I can just imagine the feeling of having kids of your own. So I was like, I want my soulmate. I didn't pray for him. I just made that clear.
I was done with him.
I was like, just because of him. Now I know for sure I do want to find the right guy. I want a godly man.
Not Andrew.
Well, I wonder what that looks like on God's point of view. You know,
she didn't know.
So I was like, I want
it's
a
like
godly
when a
man.
kid tries to follow the line when he draws, but he like screws up everything. That's our prayers. Like, here's God's will, and we're just like kind of once in a while hitting it while trying to like scribble around that.
Now, I didn't tell God, not Andrew. I'm just making it clear. I didn't pray for him. I didn't pray to get us back together. I was
you were just praying for a husband.
A godly man. And that was it. You know, I was fasting that day. And the next morning, I get fired at my job, my full-time job, the main income, my source of income.
She's never been fired before.
Yeah.
Ever.
God's providence.
Yeah. So
I've
I get
never been
fired, and I got fired for something that wasn't my fault. That's how I knew this is God's doing. I knew right away. The moment I got called in the office, I'm getting fired. I'm like, God, what are you doing? What did I pray for? I was like, I did not pray to get fired, but I know this is God's doing. And I'm just like, okay, God. Like I remember driving back to my studio. I'm like, okay, help me be alert. What am I supposed to look for? What am I supposed to do now? I have to find another job. And then my mom calls me, and she never calls me during the week because she knows I'm working. And I answered her, I'm like, hi, Mom. And she's like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm calling you. I'm surprised you're answering. Are everything okay? I'm like, well, it's weird that you're saying that because, Mom, I just got fired. He's like, you got fired? I'm like, yeah, why? It's a long story. And she's like, and that weekend was my cousin's Oliver's wedding. And I was already planning coming down to Yuma that weekend for the wedding. And it was Wednesday. So I'm thinking the prayer was Tuesday. And my mom's like, well, then just come down now. You know, since you have no job, it's true. The whole week was cleared up now. Come down now and we'll pray about it and we'll see what we could do. And my mom didn't seem so disappointed because she's been wanting me to move back home. So I'm like, okay, got my stuff, my laundry, headed to Yuma. Thursday comes up, and that time the church we were going to, they have evening service on Thursdays. I go to service. This guy comes. I haven't talked or seen this guy since, you know, he broke up with me. He comes up to me like nothing, you know, like we're still friends. And I'm looking at him like, oh gosh. I'm like, here he comes.
The nerve.
But I wasn't mean. I was never mean or rude. Well, was I ever mean and rude?
At Martin's wedding.
Well, you had that one coming.
Just saying.
I'm just saying. That was too fresh.
Well deserved.
That was fresh. He comes up to me and says, like, what are you doing here with a big old smile? Obviously, he was happy
that day.
He was happy to see me.
I was psyched.
And I don't know why. I just told him right there and then. I was like, I just got fired from my job. So that's why I'm here. Like, I have no job. And he had this big, his smile went from this to, like, really?
Like, why are you
They're
happy?
like, yeah, exactly. Why are you happy?
I was super happy.
And from that moment on, guys, I stayed in Yuma because.
So basically, I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday of that same week, but that's when I was praying, saying, God, I want to be with her. I've screwed it up this many times, but every time I come back to the conclusion, it's like, I want her. And she's all the way over there. You got to bring her to me. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's the words, but I know it was about God. I'm not going there because the idea is always Adelie's here. I can't go anywhere. I have to be here for my daughter. But it's like she's all the way out there. Like, I can't do anything with her that far away. Like, I need her here. I need her here with me. And then so on Thursday when she shows up, she's never, to my experience, I've never seen her at a Thursday service because she works. She'd only be here on Sundays. So to see her on a Thursday, I was like, you're here on a Thursday. And then she got fired. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, God brought you. To me, it was just answer. For her, it's like, with you again, huh? Like, so after that, I don't know why. I just started showing up at her house.
Nonstop.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
My parents, that a stalker.
My mom had a plate of food for him.
Her mom would make me food.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And we would be there. I would never be in there if her mom and dad weren't there. There would be at least one person there. Like, there's times that she'd be like, oh, you could come in. There's like a net. And I'm like, where's mom? She's like, no. I'm like, no.
Honor God.
So there was
Honor God.
First off, I know myself.
Yeah.
Second off, I know temptation's real. I was like, I am not putting myself in an opportunity for another person to say he went into that house with her alone. I'm not putting myself in temptation. None of that. So I was very focused on making sure I don't violate that. So I would never, not once, except for when we would like drive to a public location or something, but like to go get food or something, because that's in the public. There's, windows in the cars, but never in a house or anything like that. And I just kept being welcomed in, and mom would always prepare an extra plate of food for me, and I would just be there almost every single day. And then I'd take her out to eat, and we started at some point we just started reading a book about pre-marriage. And I was doing my thing, like pointing this direction, and apparently she didn't like realize that I'm preparing our minds.
No, I
for
did,
something.
but because he didn't officially say anything,
Yeah.
I was like,
So you
This
guys
guy.
never had a conversation?
No,
about
we just like
Nope.
we
We were just
hung
hanging
out.
out.
You needed Leslie the confirmation.
Yeah.
You needed to make it official.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we did that for about a month and a
Interesting.
half.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't know why. Well, I do know why I stayed. So that week I was praying. He was showing up on my parents. So
It was great food.
he had a lot to do with it now that I think about it. But my parents had the most influence of me moving back to Yuma. They really wanted me back, and they paid for to break my lease in my studio. They paid the rest. I had a money saved that was so hard for me. I was like, oh, this money I save up to just break a lease. They were like the biggest influence for me to move back. And when I did it, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I moving back to Yuma? Like, I have goals. I didn't finish college. I could still try. I'm not moving back because of him. No. I'm like telling myself, no, it's not because of him. Why? And like, I trusted that it was God, that he wanted me to move back because everything was smoothly going in that direction.
Yes.
And even though he was making time for me, for us, for our friendship or whatever it was,
Courtship.
you know,
That's right. Undercover.
he had finals at a certain time. I forgot, maybe in December or November. It was already November. So yeah, he had finals. So I had some time by myself, like about time, because since I moved back, he was there every day. So when he had finals, he wasn't there. So I was like, okay, now I'm alone. And I got so depressed. It's like finally it hit me, like, oh my goodness, I'm a college dropout. I moved back to my parents' house. Like everything that sounds negative, I'm back here. I'm hanging out with my ex-boyfriend, you know, that's not going anywhere. And I just got so depressed that I literally spent the whole day locked in my room, sleeping, depressed, because that's how I cope. Like, well, that's how I get when I get depressed. I just sleep all day. And my mom saw it. She was like knocking, like, Leslie, what are you doing? Are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Leslie, get up. I'm like, no, I don't want to. Get up. It's not pretty to be depressed. Like, and I'm like, fine. And that day I reached out to a friend in Phoenix. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try Phoenix. I was making plans to move after the holidays because I was like, what am I doing? I was disappointed in myself. And it's funny when you're down, it's hard to hear God or pay attention because I was ready to book it, move, you know? And I brought it up to Andrew. I brought it up to him, and then he was having dinner with me at my parents' house. Just the two of us, and I told him, he was like, nope, you're not going. I was like, in my head, I'm like, what do you mean I'm not going? I'm telling you, I'm leaving after the holidays. He's like, no, I think God has something else for you. I'm like, okay, well. So I was getting little hints, but I didn't want to get excited. That was the problem. So I guess I might have pushed them. Did I push you?
No, by that time I already asked your parents for permission. So
see?
I knew that you weren't allowed to say no. I was
So,
like, I'm going to propose. She ain't going nowhere.
so one thing you said is that I like that you said was that all these things that seem negative, like now looking back as you're telling me this story, I'm like, yeah, God was he was in control the whole time. And that's wonderful. Yeah. So now tell us, December comes around.
All right, here we go.
December
This is my favorite part.
December 21st.
Y'all aren't a relationship.
We're
Nope.
not.
We just hang
Everybody
out
still
every day.
thinks, everyone's
read
always
books
asking me,
together.
are you guys together? I'm like, nope, just hanging out. December 21st on a Sunday, Christmas, the youth Christmas
Party?
Santa,
The Sand Exchange.
Santa
Yeah.
exchange.
Good
Yeah.
times.
Very good.
So our friend Carlos was my Secret Santa, and everyone's exchanging gifts. Carlos comes up to me very, I don't know, it's like embarrassed or something, because he got me something that he didn't realize it was not appropriate, because he got me a devotional for marriage, like pray for your marriage and family. And
We still have it. We don't read it because it's got strange expectations. It says, Satan, no, you cannot have my marriage.
Oh,
So this is to a single woman.
single woman, you know, I'm not married.
So I'll tell my side now. I was praying because I had, we were in a church that condemns wedding rings, so you're not allowed to do that. So you propose with like a watch and stuff, or you get married with a watch. it's a watch instead of a ring. It's jewelry. So proposal can't be a ring. It has to be something sweet, but no jewelry. And I already asked her parents. I already knew. I had like chocolate, whatever, ready to say please. But I started getting the cold feet and I started getting shook again. And I'm like, I have to do this and I want to do this here. But if it's not your will, God, shut it down. But help me out. Like, I'm terrified. Like, is this right? Please give me a sign. Show me that this is yours. So Carlos, I'm behind him because I'm hanging out with Carlos.
Good old Carlos.
And I see Carlos. What up, Carlos? So I see Carlos give Leslie the little exchange gift, and I'm just standing there, just hanging out, just watching it.
Be nosy,
you know. And she and he opens it with these lines. He says, "I don't know why I got this for you. So here you go."
I could picture that. Yeah. I could picture the way he said it.
So as she opens it, it's like, "No, Satan, you cannot have my marriage." I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I know exactly why you got that, because I needed to see that she's going to have a book on marriage, because I know that this is an actual approved or big ups, like, yes, supported engagement that I'm about to go into. So it was, if anything, it was for me. Once that hit and once I saw "No, Satan, you can have my marriage," for me, that was my confirmation. However you want to take it, to me, that's the only thing that I would have wussed out and never done it if it wasn't for that little book, because I was always so anxious and always so needing like guidance, perfect guidance. So she was clueless, he was clueless, and I was just like, yes, thanks, Carlos, you followed the spirit and you didn't even know. So once she did that, that's when I was able at the...
Not to end it off, because this is where it gets the good part, where I get my confirmation.
I haven't heard this part.
So I didn't, you've heard it. So my confirmation was towards the end of the engagement, close to our wedding day. Because of his cold feet.
Wait.
Whoa. Hold on. I gotta do my engagement.
Yeah.
You can't go confirmation. Yeah.
What do you mean?
You jumped
I'm
the
about
story.
Hold on. So basically, Carlos goes out to get food in the other part. I don't know where he went. He just left for a few minutes. And I'm good at public. I think I'm comfortable speaking in public, but on this moment, I lost all my words. Yeah. I think I broke out into a sweat. It was bad. I
remember you turned to me right before you proposed. You're like, record this. Yeah. And I'm like,
that was the way I did it.
I was like, we never record you talking. So half the time we don't even listen.
So basically I just handed him my phone, or I told him on his phone. I don't remember which one it was, but I just said, record this. And I immediately went to say, hey, everyone, I just have something to say.
In the middle of the room.
In the middle of all of our youth, all of our friends. And I started saying, this and that. And I butchered everything. I misquoted everything. I tried to explain, whoever finds a wife finds something good from the Lord. And Proverbs 31, when you find a woman like that. And she ain't dating me, so she's like, what's he talking about?
Yeah, and I'm not even looking at him. I'm not going to give him my attention. I was just like, he's talking again.
So then at some point, I look at her, and I get on my knee, and I'm like, will you marry me? And she's like, what?
I was so shocked.
And the minute that I get on my knee, Carlos walks in, and he's just standing in the doorway.
Complete shock.
And he's just like half bite of whatever muffin. He's like... like, what did I just missed this. So it went basically from us having no relationship to immediately be engaged in front of all of our friends.
God's providence.
Yes.
Smooth.
So what was your confirmation?
So believe it or not, that engagement, I was kind of upset because I believe in private engagements. Because I would have automatically talked to him right after that. Like,
no, I had to put her on the spot so she can't say no.
He was smart. I had so much feedback from friends from Tucson and Yuma that did not like Andrew because, breaking my heart once or twice. They're like, nope, what are you doing? You're crazy. Why are you doing this? He's untrustworthy, Of course, I ignored it because I was like, okay, this is serious. I like him a lot. He seems to be very serious this time, but there's something about it. Like, there's something wrong. Or I was very scared and I just need confirmation. And I didn't get it until our marriage counseling session, which was prior to our wedding. So we got engaged. Engagement was 3-4 months. Our wedding day was in April 18th. And I don't know if it was the last day of our marriage counseling or the first day, but during those 3 days, And Andrew was asked by the pastor that, how do you know that Leslie is the one for you? Like what? And he said, well, because I prayed for her and she got fired and God brought her back to Yuma. And this is the first time I'm hearing this story, this testimony. Okay. And I'm like, what? And I literally wanted to bawl in that moment, but I was in front of the pastor. I wasn't going to do it. But after he left, I was like, oh my goodness. We were both praying for, at the same time, not for the same thing in a way, but the fact that we both had willing hearts. I didn't ask for him back, but I wanted someone that wanted me, and that was, God saw fit for me. God did it. God orchestrated He orchestrated everything. So for me, that was confirmation. Like I'm not crazy for taking someone that broke my heart or is insecure.
Yeah, he
not
was
crazy.
Working it all out.
Yeah, that he has a kid with someone else, because I know all that drama, because I was a stepchild myself, and that's one of the reasons I was like, I never want to be in that situation. But I was willing. I was up for the challenge, because the fact that he has shown that he put God first, he should know how to respect me, love me. And I just had so much faith that it's going to work out. So yeah, that was it. That was my confirmation.
9 years later, here we are. That's awesome.
Well, this obviously is not saying in support of, if your life is falling apart in all these various ways, it is immediately confirmation for all the things you want. That does not necessarily transfer over and translate over to that.
Right.
Your life might just be falling apart.
Yeah. And this goes to show, again, just how God, like you said, orchestrates everything. Like in the moment, you're not seeing it, but now in hindsight, you can see it. And that's wonderful. And again, that's to reemphasize the point is you were actively seeking out God and actively serving the Lord. Same thing with you. And then you guys asked the Lord, and it fell according to God's will at that moment. And this shows it. And you honored God through it all the way up, even up till now. You guys honor God, but you guys honored God all the way through your engagement into your marriage. And that's, if I could drive home that point for the podcast today, is that honor God, seek out the Lord, and in his time and in his will, he will provide somebody for you, if that is the desire that's already been placed in your heart. Because you made a good point about some people are okay with being single, and then they don't have that desire, so long as it's pointed towards Christ. Yeah.
And I saw how, like, even in both of you guys at some point had doubts, right?
Yeah.
And that, like, even in the doubting, even in the wondering, like, first you turned to God and prayed, but like how God constantly shows up, and he says, I take your doubts and I answer you, and I hear it when you call. And we think about Thomas, right? And he doubted, but like God still met him where he was. He's like, even despite your doubting, like, here, let me show you who I am. And so, like, your story, like, things aren't very picture perfect, clear, but like through it all, God revealed himself as you guys were seeking him.
Yeah. And I got asked a lot from my friends in Tucson. It's like, how can you hang out with him after what he did? I was like, I don't know. I asked myself that a lot. I'm like, God, why am I still hanging out with this guy? There's no promises. We're not dating. And it's because I was willing to forgive him, because I saw all the good that he had and the potential. And I was like, I can't be mad at him. He's such a good guy. And he's making time to get to know me. So he was
pursuing you.
Yeah. So that's it.
How romantic.
I'm blushing. All right, guys, I want to hear your guys' story. Online dating.
Yeah, we probably could have mentioned that earlier. Yeah, we shout out to Upward, because everybody, when I say we met online, they're like, oh, Christian Mingle. I'm like, no.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an app. It's Upward. For those of you that know, it's like Tinder, but for Christians.
So do you swipe left or right when you'd like to meet the person?
I don't remember.
Did you guys swipe right on each other?
I think
it's
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't remember if it was left or right.
You guys swiped in the correct direction.
So,
yeah.
Good for you guys.
I'll share my piece of it, right? Because, I was in a point where I was was content with the Lord, and I made that same prayer, like, God, if it's your will, help me find someone. Mm-hmm. And I am the opposite of smooth when it comes to talking to women. Okay. So yeah, I thought dating apps would be a great idea. So I downloaded the Upward app and, started swiping left and right. But, I would, cause there was a lot of, options on there when it comes to on a Christian dating app. They have like Catholic, Mormon,
okay,
they have Pentecostal. Yeah. On mine, I put, Christian, non-denominational, Reformed theology. I think that was about it.
Nice.
And, I'm like, if somebody's going to be worth, pursuing, they might know some about Reformed theology.
And I don't think you had a lot in your bio about you.
I didn't.
Because I think I remember like,
hi, I'm Aldo.
Yeah.
That's all.
Again, not smooth whatsoever. So yeah, we ended up matching, and we started talking on the app. And I love telling this part too. So on her profile, apparently she had all these things, details about her faith. Ask me if I read any of it.
How much of it did you read?
None.
Okay. Did you know it was there?
No.
It was just hard.
I didn't even know how to log out. I just knew how to click.
And so
Wait, can I tell my side?
Yeah. Go for it.
So for me, it was like, what made me want to get in, I was like, going through, I was in this sort of like friendationship, and it was just weird. And I remember like praying to God beforehand. I'm like, God, like if this isn't meant to be, like, like close this door. And I remember like God just gave me the sense it was closed. I remember driving home and I was like bawling. I'm like, God, there has to be someone more than this who's going to take care of my heart, who's going to cherish it. And so I was crying. I'm like driving home, and I remember where I was, and I'm like, I'm going to go on online dating. Hindsight, pause. Like I did online dating once before. I did Christian Mingle and had this very awkward experience, and I like had sworn off of Christian dating websites to that point. But then I had to I was crying, and I did a self-assessment. I'm like, is this emotion based? Or I'm like, no, like I'm making this decision not just on my feelings, but I have peace about it. So then I go home that same night, and like I'm like, I'm just going to be clear. Like, I want them to know this is what I believe. This is who I am.
So you made a statement of faith.
I sure did.
Pretty much, yeah.
I had to put I'm like, this is who I am. And you got to pick out your pictures. I'm like, I want a picture. I had a picture of me in my scrubs to show I'm a nurse. I had a picture of adventure me. So I'm like, I like to go on adventures and stuff. Like all these different, I had to paint the whole picture. And then in my bio.
I struggled to find pictures for myself.
They did look old. They did look old because I could tell. I'm like, there's some change in this, and so I.
She meets you. You look older.
well, and then I was like, I wrote my whole. I'm like, this is who I am. I'm a Christian. This is what I believe. I'm like, I believe Jesus died on the cross for my sin. I believe the Father has Son. I'm like, I'm like, my whole faith. I'm like, you got to believe this. And then when I finally found out he didn't read it, I'm like, man, I put like some hard work in that one. Like, I really like.
Sounds like you guys are related right there.
Yeah. Like, I was really intentional about this. Like, and then nothing.
I was going to find out from actually talking to you. So
that's it.
Yeah.
That's why. He said, I don't want to learn from a computer system. I want to learn from the
I'll
human.
know the real you, not the computer.
I don't believe that you wrote that until you can say it by memory.
It is so funny. And then, so I remember like when we were probably on it for about like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, cause you got nervous when I'm like, let's take it from the app to the phone. And she's like,
I got to go back first. Okay. So then it's like, there's different people. I'm realizing I'm like different denominations. I'm like, but I don't want to be like, I had to listen to a podcast and I'm like, about looking like adjusting having realistic expectations. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to be like, oh, they're not Baptist and like be very closed off. So I'm like, I started investigating. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this like sort of church. There were a couple people I talked to, like 2 or 3, but most of them I had swiped to right first, and then I kind of did the first conversation. I'm like, hi, a little high sign emoji. But then I was like, I don't know, God, I don't feel like, I'm like, I want a guy to like who pursue me, because my prayer was always like, God, I want someone who pursues me like Christ pursues the church. And so I was like, I really don't feel comfortable with this. I'm like, maybe I gotta put myself out there. But that was my prayer. And then so I like going forward, I got a message from Aldo, and I'm like,
oh, so he did the first move.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I was praying this, and I remember going up to my friend Veronica. She's one of my bridesmaids. Shout out to Veronica.
Shout out, V.
And so I was like, I remember we were sitting at her condo. I'm like, oh, like, look at him. What do you think? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, he's not my type. I don't know. I'm nervous. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. And then so we were talking, and then, it was a good conversation. And then I remember he had text. It was like probably one day of talking. He was like, hey, can I have your number to like, we'll take this in text? And I'm like, oh no, everything about the apps, they tell you keep it online, it's safe, like it's better, that way it's protected. I was like, oh no, I don't know.
Way to creep her out, Aldo.
But then I sat and I thought.
I'll say my piece. Just wait for my
and
end.
I was like, okay, I have peace about it. It's okay. If anything, I'll block him. And then so I always have to have the backups, you know? Okay.
I'll just change my name.
Change my number.
Yeah, for me, it was like, in my experience on that app, nobody talked to me. So, and then the like one or two that did, very quickly in the messages, it was apparent they were not God-honoring Christians. And I'm like, I don't like this.
Which is something that you have to be careful. Just because you're on a Christian dating website, like,
doesn't
not
mean
everyone is walking out their faith.
Yes. And so, yeah, I was just like, and then she was the only one holding a good conversation. I was like, yeah, let's take it to the phone.
Wait, can I go back? I do remember seeing when he had sent the message. I was looking at his profile. There was nothing there to really read.
Thanks a lot, Aldo.
I do remember seeing he said Reformed theology.
Yeah.
And this was like right, and talk about timing. This was a time I
seriously.
just got finished. My pastor had a systematic theology Bible study. And so I had this hunger for like, this newfound hunger for theology and learning more about God and what really like following the faith. And so when I saw Reformed theology, I was like, that like intrigued me.
Yeah. And that's actually very key, because at this point in my life, I've had in my heart and in my mind, I've already denounced my previous denomination. And I was getting really heavy into Reformed theology. Again, God's providence. The timing is nothing short of God's doing. But yeah, I just wanted to keep talking to her. But I wanted to move it over to like the actual text messages.
Against all safety measures.
Well, I didn't think of it that way. I'm just like, I just want to keep talking to this girl. And yeah, so we and against her own, because she's not like that. Like she was not the kind that would just do something like that. But yeah, we started talking over the phone, and then eventually it escalated to a phone call. At some point, I had COVID, and she kind of walked me through it.
Even before that, like I had asked him, because I was like, I'm not playing around. I'm getting to the nitty gritty. I'm like,
yes,
I'm asking, like, because I was serious. I'm like, I'm done. Like I'm here like to find my husband. Like I was serious, and so I asked him. I'm trying to get to know his faith. I gotta dig deep and find out if he's a real Christian.
Yeah.
And so then I asked him. I'm like, okay, what sort of church do you go to? And then this is his response. I'm like, oh, that's a conversation for the phone. I'm like, oh, yellow flag. I'm like, I didn't want to like completely shut him down, but I'm like, like cautious.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was during that time where...
in between churches.
Yeah.
And then so he told me, he's like...
Yeah.
I grew up in the apostolic. And I'm like... And he explained to me, he was like, but I'm coming out. And I'm still going to this church. And I haven't quite figured. And so in my mind, I'm like... Okay, but, as long as he's not in the sense where, hey, I'm going to stay, like... I was like, okay, that's fine to me. And he was all nervous about it, but I'm like,
I was.
What's your long-term goal? Like, where are you going with this? And like, I mean, I understand it's a process.
Yeah, I remember I paused
I'm not expecting the worst.
Yeah.
I'm like holding.
Because I'm
Wait,
like,
so this is a phone conversation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we actually talk on the phone about it, like I paused. I'm like, how do I explain this? Just trying to gather my words. But I'm grateful that I was able to, by that point, I knew enough to give my reasons why I'm no longer a part of that church and why I'm only going there for just, I don't like, not good reasons. Like I was no longer a part of their theology, but I was still going there while looking for something else. But anyway, I'm grateful that we had that conversation. I'm grateful that we got down to our faith and our beliefs right off the gate too.
That's good.
Eventually, I think I found a church, the church that I go to now at New Mountain. After that, and then when we met for the first time, now I really like this.
Was that like within a month of you guys talking, or
no, 2 months?
2 months.
No,
Yeah.
2 or 3 months.
We met like
How long-
end of December, and it was in February. When
Yeah.
we met in person.
How long did it take for you guys to do a phone call?
It was pretty quick.
He
I
was
think.
like really fast. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be scared too.
Well,
so
because, and part of my fear,
I was her answered prayer. I was pursuing.
he was, and part of my like when I was on the Christian Mingle website, like there was one guy, and we actually had a phone call, and it was as awkward as I don't know what, and so I was like, shoot, is this gonna be a repeat? Like,
No.
so that was like,
So do you know how to spell Bible? Like, oh, okay. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. So if there was any smoothness, I'm gonna accredit all of it to God because I am not. But yeah, eventually, my sister, my niece, and my brother-in-law, we were planning a trip to Disneyland, and I sort of shot it out to her like, "Hey, do you want to go?" Thinking like she might say no because it's like too soon, and then Disneyland, like who does that, right?
yeah.
but then on my side, so I remember him saying, he brought it up a couple times, Disneyland. I'm like, I feel like that would be a good, and this is what I'm saying to myself, that would be a good first time meeting. And I'm like, oh, he hasn't said anything though. And so then I started to pray. I'm like, God, like if this is where we're supposed to meet up, like I pray that you have him ask me. And so, I literally pray. And that's why I say God hears my prayers, like especially regarding Aldo. Like, so I prayed that. And then I remember I was at youth. And then I'm like, oh, I'm at youth. He's like, hey, crazy idea. Would you want to go to Disneyland? In my heart, I was like, yeah, I answered prayer. But, I had to play it cool. I'm like, okay. But I was also at the same time like, oh shoot, this is really happening. And like, okay, God. I'm like, okay, let me see about work. And I was like, yeah. And he was like kind of shocked.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I would be
Because
scared.
you said that you said
Did
it
you
almost
just
like
said yes?
jokingly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I asked her almost jokingly, like see if she'll actually, but knowing she's gonna say no. Like I honestly thought she was gonna say no.
Me too. That's scary because you're going by yourself. He's going with a
But
sibling.
it's Disney. There's millions of people.
So
no one ever gets lost
here's
there.
my thing. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like, oh shoot, like it's actually happening. So I was like nervous. I'm like, I didn't tell a single soul except for my best friend Kate, and I said, who lives in Florida. So she can't help if something happened. But I was smart. I downloaded an app where I could link with her, and it tracks me. And then so you could even set up code words like, hey, if you say this word, it's going to call 911. I'm like, oh, shoot. But what if I'm like, hey, want to go get a banana split? And like, oh, it's like, I'm like, oh, no.
Can't
cancel.
do banana split then. What's something I'll never say?
Yeah. So then I decided not to, but then I told her. And then I remember.
Code word, I don't believe the Bible. I won't say that unless I really
There you go.
It's like,
that's a good one.
That's a good
That's
one.
a very good one.
But I
you gotta
really,
try to say that.
I assessed it. And I'm like, and remember doing the drive. I'm like, am I for real doing this? But I had peace about it because that's very unlike me to just, it was like spontaneous. It was like going to meet this random guy. But then I was like, okay, well, a couple of things. Like if he's coming with his family, like, I mean, the likelihood of like a serial killer bringing his family, like with him to like do something is like a little bit slim. I'm in Disney, and then I'm like, okay, well, what if it's awkward and it's really weird? I'm like, okay, well, I could always go to the other park, or I could just go back.
Or disappear.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
so I had a plan. I had backup plans.
It's good.
Okay.
My plan was how nerdy should I be? Because I like Disneyland. I'm a big nerd. And I'm like, how much should I show her?
Can I nerd out like 100%?
Yeah.
You have to. You're at Disneyland.
So
That's
I'm
like the only time.
So I was like, am I going to weird her out with my Disney knowledge and nerdiness? That's what I was thinking at the time. She was over here thinking about her safety. And I'm thinking about how to be cool.
I know all the seven dwarves names.
Yeah.
By heart.
But it was really sweet. He asked me, he was like, what size shirt do you wear? Like, can I buy you a sweatshirt? I'm like, oh, that's cute. I love to be matchy. Yeah,
so I got her a matching shirt and the pancake sweatshirt. And then when we finally met, because, just like Vanessa, she got there late. And we met.
I was driving.
Oh, it's okay. I accept you. But no, so we met up, and honestly, Disneyland is a great place for a first date because, one, you're not going to be bored, and two, while you're waiting in line to get on rides, that's when you can actually really talk to each other.
Take notes, people.
Yeah,
take notes.
Take notes.
But bring a friend.
Yep, save your money.
And their date.
Save
Make it a double
money.
date for safety.
Yeah, do something.
Don't be a risk taker like V.
So,
God's providence.
So we went
unless you have God's providence.
We went to Disneyland for 2 days, because that's what we had planned.
And I remember him at first. He was like, "Hey, do you want to? Here's a hotel that we're staying at. If you want to stay." I'm like, "No, because if this doesn't work out, like I don't want you to know where I am."
Fair. Very
You're
fair.
smart.
And then
Smarter
also,
than me.
So we have different tastes in hotels. And I saw the picture.
Are you saying that he had like the princess special and you were like, I don't want the princess special?
No, more like she's
the 7 doors.
She's more like 4 stars and above. I'm more of like, is there a bed?
Motel with gunshots outside, please.
Yes.
I'll like the discount.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember dropping him off, and I'm like, glad I did.
That's like me and LJ when we used to go to Bible college in Phoenix. I would choose the cheapest hotel because that's the only thing that makes sense. $20 a night, I'm there. That's the first place I want to go. And when we were there, we grab one room, 1 bed, 1 couch. And as we're sleeping, LJ like wakes up and says he was complaining because there was gunshots at night outside the door. And he's like, Andrew, you're never choosing a hotel again. I'm like, LJ, $20 a night, bro. We made it. We're good.
Just FYI, he's not like that anymore.
I'm not.
He's married, kids.
If I go alone, I am absolutely
yeah.
like that.
Yes.
But with the family, I'm choosing 10-star overpriced. I'm going in debt for this hotel.
You and I are the same in that aspect.
So I didn't stay anywhere near him.
She hacked your phone to find out where you're staying so she can choose the other side.
Well, no, he sent me where they were staying. So I mean, it was in the vicinity, but I needed a safe distance.
Yes.
And I didn't tell him. I think you asked him like, "Hey, do you want me to drop you off?" I'm like, "No, I have my car. I'm good."
Yeah. It's trying to be nice.
Boundaries, guys. Boundaries. Safety.
Boundaries.
Vanessa's basically saying, yeah, I risked it with restrictions.
Yes.
So one thing that was really sweet after that trip, though, that made me, like really, really consider this was my sister at the end of the last night, and we were driving home. Selena, my sister, she's like, so what do you think? I'm like, I just stayed quiet. I didn't want to say much. And she's like, well, I love her, she said. And from that moment on, she really did. Like up until this day, she loves you. And I'm like, well, my sister's someone that likes her. And I was thinking, I should continue this, I should really continue this. And from that point on, we had agreed that we should meet at least once a month because she was in Vegas. I was here in Yuma. And God always provided a way, and he made it easy for us to find a place so that we could meet each other once a month. You guys were gracious enough to open your place here, your home here. And
I think on that sense, we set that boundaries early on. Even though he has a house, he has an extra bedroom, like that I was not going to stay at his house. That we were going to...
I wasn't going to let you stay at his house, Vanessa.
Well, you didn't know me at that time.
I don't care. I know him, and I was going to be like, Aldo, I'm going to check in your house. I would not let him violate any of the biblical standards. So
that's why you need good Christian friends.
I love you, V, but I would have said, go to our room. You're not allowed in his house overnight.
Yeah, and she had friends after a while because obviously financially once a month trying to find a hotel or whatever that
he
could
stayed
get
with
expensive.
a buff lady. I didn't like that.
What?
Yeah, on one of the trips, there was like nothing available, and there was one Airbnb,
didn't like that one.
and the Airbnb was nice, but there was a picture of the owner of the Airbnb, and she was this buff lady, like
Shout
just
out to the buff
super
Like
buff.
bodybuilder?
Yeah, like
Oh.
I'd feel safe. I'd be really happy. I'd be
Right?
like, yo,
right.
do you protect the home if I'm in it? Like, am I safe with you here?
I think she thought she was gonna do something because she would text me. She's like, "How you doing? Good night."
I didn't like that.
Can you
one.
show me a video of what's going on?
I didn't like that.
But yeah, soon after that, actually, her friends started opening up doors for me to stay for the weekends. I would go visit, and again, all credit to God, because He provided a way, and it was always easy. Even like the last minute, like a friend had to cancel because they're sick or had some emergency. Another friend would offer their home.
And it was opportunities to invite friends into our lives as well. Like, I think that was like always a key for us, like inviting friends and that wisdom, because they can see things that maybe I can't see, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So after that night, the first time I introduced Vanessa to you and the guys and everybody, that night, went home to pick up your car, I believe.
Yeah. This is my first time in Yuma.
Yes. And she was I think you were going to leave the morning after, go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're standing outside my driveway and she pops the question, so what are we? What are we doing with this?
How soon was this?
This was, whenever was the first time you came to Yuma? It was like maybe 2 months after the Disney trip. So,
So like
March,
5
April,
months?
like April.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she's like, what are we? What is this? What's going to happen? And I'm like, oh, dang. I'm like, we're having a good time, Can we just leave it right here?
He was like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, but then, I was like, you know what? Let's take our time. Let's pray about it. Let's ask God. And then we gave ourselves a time, right? We gave ourselves to July.
You skipped it.
I skipped something?
Yeah.
What'd I skip?
Because you were like, I don't know. We're still trying to figure it out. And so I went on my way and I drove home. And I remember
we prayed before you left.
We did pray. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe he needs time,
Wait, hold on a second. So at this time, you were already like, I like him.
Yeah, I was like,
Of course.
Was it like right after Disney or during Disney?
It was after Disney. And it's, my thing is like, I'm not here to play around. Like, I don't want to waste time being in this, like, where are we? Like, did that, done that? Like, no, like, let's be serious. Be clear with your expectation in which, or where we're going. Because if not, we're like, bye. Like,
Okay. But what did he do or say where you felt like this is it? He's the one.
I don't think I felt like that he's the one. I think I felt there was peace. I felt peace about dating him. And then I was waiting for him, and I was trying to allow him to lead, him to ask. But then I remember praying about it, and I'm like, should I ask him? I'm like, I want to be clear about, like, I don't want to be sitting here 6 months later and we're just still playing this game. And then so I
which is fair.
Yeah.
It's a fair question.
Yeah, and I think just after previously, I'm like, no, I'm gonna be very clear and set my boundaries. Like, so I remember driving home and I didn't have peace about that. And I remember, I don't know how long passed, but then I think we talked on the phone again.
Yeah.
And I prayed. I'm like, God, like...
It was after one of our Bible studies.
Yeah. And I because in my heart, I wanted to be like, listen, you need to figure it out. Like, if we're going to, like, let's go. If not, but then I prayed about it. I'm like, okay, God, like, I want to let him to lead. And so I had brought it up to him that I'm like, hey, I don't feel at peace with this. Like, I'm like, instead of saying, you need to figure it out and all that stuff, I said, okay, why don't we pray about it?
Yeah.
Why don't we seek wise counsel and see where God is calling us to go?
Yeah. So fast forward, we have this conversation over the phone. and it was going to be over like what we were going to do, if we were going to, be boyfriend and girlfriend or whatnot. And that's when I was like, we gave each other a week?
I think it was like 2 weeks, because it was right before I went to youth camp.
Yeah, so we gave each other 2 weeks to seek out counsel, to pray about it, and to just ask God, like, is this the right move for us to make? Mm-hmm. And then once, and so yeah, she did. She went and talked to her friends. I went and talked to my friends.
No, you said you didn't even talk to your friends.
Oh yeah, I didn't. I didn't talk to anybody. But I prayed. And yeah, and then those 2 weeks came by, and I'm like, maybe I should have talked to my friends, because I don't know. I was nervous. I was really nervous about coming to that conclusion, if we were going to continue or not. But I remember as soon as your FaceTime popped up, I'm like, yeah, let's continue.
She's the one.
Yeah. Not quite there yet, but like, yeah, let's pursue this. And I'm like, and it just made sense, because I'm like, what am I looking for? Right. I'm looking for somebody who's after God, and isn't like, a hypocrite about it. Like, she's genuinely seeking out the Lord. And I'm like, what am I waiting for? What more do I want? Like, that's it. That's the most important thing. So when I finally was like, yeah, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend, and I'm pretty sure I was not romantic about it at all.
I thought it was sweet, because I was in a timeshare with my friend Kate, because she was out here visiting. I remember going to my car to FaceTime and talk with him. And I remember you were telling me all of this. And then you asked me, like, so will you be my girlfriend? And I had a big old smile. I'm like, yes.
Okay, so it was sweet. Yeah. And yeah, and it just, there was a lot of peace about it. Like, there was like, and then I was like, why did I even have any kind of anxiety up until that point? It just felt like this is the way to go. And then fast forward a little bit, we're dating, and we would always have conversation. I'm like, if we get married, da 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 da. If we get married, da 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 da. And I think it bothered her a little bit.
Yeah.
But
because we were like a couple months in,
and we both, mind you, we both understood we were dating for the purposes of marriage. So I'm a fool. Okay.
It's okay.
You did the right things now.
And so eventually she asked a question, like she has often done previously to that. She's like, when are we going to go from if we get married to when we get married?
And so in my mind, I have two sides. Like, that's the nice side coming out.
Right.
Not, in my mind, I'm gonna be like, hey, like, are we gonna do this or not? Like,
hurry up, Bo.
Like, stop talking about this if. I hate it. It annoyed me.
Yeah. I still pop it up every once in a while. So yeah. So after that, I told her, you know what? I want to have this conversation with her. I wanted to share a very personal testimony with her, very personal things that have happened to me in the past with her. I wanted to have that conversation. I'm like, depending on how this conversation goes, we'll see, if we're going to get engaged or not. Right. And again, I have to tell you guys, I wasn't expecting to have that conversation until this year. And one of the moments that I did know that I wanted to marry her, though, and this was prior to the conversation, I believe, was I had gotten COVID for like the 6th time already.
Poor guy.
Yeah. I think it was only the 2nd.
Okay. Well, yeah, I had COVID.
Every time you get COVID, it feels like you just had it 3 times in a row.
Yeah. But she was just the best. She was over there in Las Vegas, and she's like sending me food, medicine. You got to talk to the doctor. I felt very well taken care of. And I'm like, I'm going to marry this girl. Like, I just knew, like, and not just because she was taking care of me, but it's just, I saw the love and the nurturing there, just the genuineness there. I'm like, this is awesome, So fast forward, where were we when we had that? We were out here, huh?
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, like, so
I had to have been out there because it was one of those times where you guys went out to say goodbye because that's an every night thing. And then like an hour and a half later, y'all come back. And I was like watching TV or something like, did you just come back? It had to have been that one. I was like, there's something big happening. Yeah. Somebody talking about important stuff.
Well, then at that time also, like, that was like festering in the back of my mind. Like, what's he going to tell me? Like, I felt like I knew. But I was like, I just want to have this conversation. The anticipation was killing me. And so in my brain, I was going to be like, basically, I was waiting for the moment. I was almost like trap him and like sit him down. Like, listen, you need to tell me. Like, just spit it out. Like, I'm not going to judge you. Just spit it out. Yeah. And so I was like waiting. And there were a couple opportunities. I almost did it at your house. And I'm like, no, it didn't work out. And then I'm like.
Alan's wedding as well, I think.
No, that wasn't.
That was after. You're right.
And then I was, there were a couple of times. And I'm like, I want to have this conversation before I leave to go back home. Like. Yeah. But then I was like, okay, simmer down. And then I prayed. I'm like, God, please, like, let him lead in this conversation.
Yeah. Naturally, she goes to God. And God is like, okay.
He hears my prayers.
You know?
And then so when we're in his car.
Said no to my prayer.
When we're in his car, sitting, he's like, I want to share something with you. I'm like, yes. Thank you, Jesus.
Having this deep, emotional conversation with her. Listening. She's like, yes. No, but yeah, it was that time. We were out here. And we talked for a while. We have this conversation. And it was wonderful. I felt at peace. And then I think from that moment, I'm like, okay, I gotta get a ring and marry this girl.
But
like,
then he draws it out.
Yeah. Yes. Because I'm like, when do I do it? And I'm like, when do I get a ring? And I grew up not having any jewelry. So I'm like, where do I even start? And, so I reached out to some friends to kind of school me on rings. Eventually, I do take you through the jewelry store to look at rings. Yeah, because I was
nagging, and we were having a dinner, and he's like, I don't even know what sort of size you wear. I'm like, we could go look at a shop.
We can find out.
and he actually shocked me that, like, he took us. I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, surprised her. I surprised her.
Oh, Vanessa, this one's 2,000. That's my size.
No, actually, when we were looking, all the expensive rings I did not like. Like, I wanted something with, like, sweet, sentimental with character. And, like, all the big stones, I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Conflict free? Yeah. Probably not.
So yeah, that conversation happened in November. December we looked at the rings, and it was actually in December. It was the holiday week, so because I was there for Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So because it was the day after Christmas. So the day after Christmas, December 26th.
No, I think you. Oh yeah, it was the day.
Yeah, because I had come for Christmas. I was like, because I had this big ring in my pocket, and I'm like, it's like burning a hole through my thigh. I'm like, I need to propose. I'm like, how? When? Prior to me going over to visit you, you had mentioned Mount Charleston, that we could take we could see the snow out there or something. And then it just clicked. I'm like, that would be the place to do it, because it's very nice. That mountain looks nice. And so we go to Mount Charleston. And we're walking through. We go through like the ski resort place. Yeah, the ski mountain. And I'm like, whole time I'm looking, where's a good spot? And I hated that spot because there was a lot of people. I'm like, I don't want to do this in front of a bunch of people. I want to just be me and her. So if she said no,
trying to go into legal territory where, up where the helicopter pad is. And I'm like, no, we can't go up there. Like, why do you want to look?
He just wants a safe out if it goes poorly. He's like, I want to get on that. I want to just get on a.
Exactly.
And a bird and fly away if this goes bad.
Exactly. In case you said no, there's nobody around, and I could just cry by myself, But no, so we're walking around. It's a nice place, we're having a good time, but the whole time I'm just thinking how, where. And I decided to have some fun with it and sort of throw little softballs at her that, because I was asking her, like, so, what do you think about our relationship? Hasn't our relationship...
No, that was once he was like, what about a walking trail?
Yeah.
So, we started going down and we get to a sign. It was like, risk, don't cross.
Yeah.
It's like risk for death or severe injury.
Yeah.
I'm like, are we going?
Yeah, because I asked her if she knew about any hiking trails, and we found that one. And it was blocked off, and it had those signs that said danger, do not.
Because they had avalanches up there.
And I'm like, let's go. So
there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
That's right.
And we went.
Till death do us part.
So we walked through this trail, and it was just me and her and the mountain lion. No, I'm kidding. There was no mountain lion. it was just me and her, and we're walking.
At one point, there were some people behind us. He's looking back. I'm like, why is he looking back like this? Like,
yeah, because I wanted to be far away from them, and as we were walking, and it was very lovely that day. I remember just everything about the background and the scenery was just beautiful. And like I said earlier, I was kind of throwing some softballs at her that, hey, our relationship, this, and isn't God great? And
oblivious.
Yeah, she had no idea. And so I find this nice little spot, and I grab the phone. I'm like, let's take a picture. So I go and I put the phone by the tree, and I hit record.
And so at this point, I'm not dressed cute because I'm thinking we're just going it's going to be chilly. We're going to the mountains. And I'm like, okay, we got to dress for comfort. I was not. But, and then he's like, let's take a picture. So, I had horrible posture. So I'm just standing there waiting. And I look at the phone and I'm like, oh, it's on record in my mind. I'm like, Aldo, it's on record, dummy. Like, do I...
She even had the face.
Like, and I'm figuring this out in my mind. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm planning out what I need to do. I'm like, okay, we could just use my phone. I got my Apple Watch. I'll time it. So I'm really thinking through all of these things of what we have to do. And like, man, he kind of forgot, and he just left and came over here. And I look over to him. He's on one knee, and I look at him. I'm like confused. I'm like, what is he doing? And it took, like, even in the video, it took a second.
You could see the gears turning.
Like, because in my mind, I just got finished criticizing him for not setting it on the camera.
Can't put the thing on photo. Don't know how to stand on 2 feet. What is going on with this guy?
And then it finally hit me. I'm like, oh, he's proposing. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man.
That's our story.
Yeah. We're getting married September 1st, 2024. Yeah.
In the desert.
No. Flagstaff's not the desert.
It's all the desert.
The Twilight Forest wedding.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It'll be
Great.
See, now that you said Twilight Forest wedding, it's like...
Oh, I'm sorry. No, the mountain forest.
No, that forest wedding was very beautiful.
It was.
Yeah,
so what? You just don't like
I just don't
Twilight
like
series.
the movie.
Were you talking about the movie where the guy doesn't look like he knows how to act?
Yeah.
Oh.
Side conversation. So,
good.
yeah.
But yeah, we're getting married in a forest where Josiah's going to get lost.
Oh, yeah.
Ride a bear.
He's going to come back on a bear.
Yes. But yeah, nice. that's and again, it's all God's providence. God was very gracious with me. Vanessa was very gracious with me, and it just, but every step, from going from just talking on the app to talking on the phone, that was God's providence, because she was not doesn't normally do stuff like that. From that to like, what church do you go to? And I was just at the right time, the right moment, because we've talked about it before. If it was even just a few months back, she probably would have been like, no, this guy's nuts. Yeah. From that to, come to me to come join me to my Disney trip, all the way up until now, I can see how God has led us, and everything in our relationship has been centered around God, honoring God first and foremost in our relationship, and and serving Him. As we are single, we were serving Him. Now in a relationship, we want to serve Him together, and just everything that comes with that.
And I think even in our times of dating, right, even when we come and meet in person, even though it's so short, we always every time invite our friends and family into the picture, because we think the worst thing we could do is close off our relationship and like not involve our family and friends. And the root we've got in wise counsel, the root we build friendships, like you guys are my friends now. It's not just like, oh, Aldo's friends. I mean, you guys are my friends. And so it's I think that was another important takeaway, and is that growth and communication. And I think for me, even is so unlike me, all of it. But I see how God used every circumstances, even in the heartaches, to build me where I could have those conversations with him, where I could allow God to lead him and allow him to lead me. And it's hard, I'm a nurse, going to school to be a PRN, single, I'm very independent, and it's hard to want to like let go of that control and you become almost impatient. But it's just like God humbled me through that whole process and just always gave me the peace. And so it was like, I just knew it was like, it's not even a question. There's not even like a doubt.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. It's just trusting in the Lord is everything, because the moment you try to do it yourself, because I've also been on that side where it's like, I'm not trusting God, I'm gonna go pursue and find someone on my own because God's taking forever or whatever reason. You end up messing up a lot doing that. It's always better to wait on God, always, as difficult as it might be or it might sound. Truly, God puts everything into place, and you suffer a lot less for it. And I know we covered a lot of subjects during this episode, but I feel like there's still so much more to be said. Prior, you had mentioned boundaries.
In courtship?
In courtship. I think that's something that we could definitely continue in another episode, but for now, I guess I want to leave you guys with this, is that when it comes to Christian dating or courtship, always have marriage in mind. That is the goal. And make sure you are content in the Lord before you even consider being with somebody. Be content in the Lord. Be content in your ministry, however it is that you're serving God. Be content with that. That is, what your pursuit should be. And then thirdly, always honor God. And when you finally do seek someone, make sure you're not unequally yoked. Find someone that is on the same level as you, that believes in Christ as much as you do, and that loves Christ more than anything. And you are setting yourself up for success as opposed to failure or a very difficult and rocky relationship. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add.
I think we covered that section really well. So I hope we cover some other aspects of it in the coming months. I think this could be just an ongoing segment, hitting it from different sides, because there's so much more to cover. And I look forward to that. But in the meantime, I guess we kind of got a basic of the breakdown of our stories to some extent. I hope that that's insightful. I mean, Aldo got none of his prayers answered. Vanessa got every one of them answered. So it's like, you'd be amazed to see how
a good future wife.
That's right. For a wife.
He got that one.
I got the important one.
He didn't get anything about the timing or how things work or unfold. He didn't get any of that. But
the power of prayer.
Absolutely. It's just amazing to see that in the midst of those relationships, my prayers were answered. All those prayers were answered. Vanessa's, Leslie's, like, our prayers were answered.
But not in our
in the
own
way.
timing.
Yeah, not in our timing, not in the way we expected. But later on, we're looking at it like, that was my Father in heaven saying yes to a desire I had in my heart, which is a good one. And he said yes, and he worked it out. So I think it's amazing to know and to see that he's fully involved in your relationships, and he desires the best for us. He warns against anything that is contrary to his word, and we should know him and his word so that we know we're making wise and faithful and healthy decisions. Otherwise, you might be heartily making wrong decisions that could scar you for life. And you don't want to put yourself in that position. So in everything, seek Christ, and let all your decisions and plans be made in him. So Join us next time on Milk and Meat Podcast. God bless you guys.
Because I be worried about your soul, while you still be doubting you got a soul. Like you need to see to believe these things, but you believe things that you've never seen. Like feelings and hopes and dreams, the future emotions and gravity. And sadly, everything you're rejecting makes this whole life a tragedy. And I got something to say, I got something to say, I got something to say to the world. And I got place to make, I got steps to take, I got